Tonight, a federal judge has ordered ICE and the Justice Department to turn over evidence in connection to the deadly shooting of Renee Good. But here's the twist. The evidence is actually part of a separate case. Jessica Hart has details.
Go arrest ICE! Go arrest ICE!
Months before ICE agent Jonathan Ross shot and killed Renee Good, he was dragged by a car during an attempted arrest of another man who was found guilty of assault in December.
Yes.
Eric Newmark represented Roberto Carlos Munoz Guatemala in that case.
What we had asked the judge to do was to basically give us the entire investigative file relating to the murder of Renee Good. And we wanted it for two reasons. One, because it potentially could result in a motion for a new trial. And second, because it potentially can contain what's called mitigating information, which might help to reduce my client's sentencing if we are not successful in getting a new trial.
Newmark says at the time his client didn't know Ross was an officer. He says Ross was aggressive in his client's case, and there were no body cameras to show the interaction between Ross and Munoz Guatemala.
What we now know about how Jonathan Ross relates to individuals in vehicles that are not doing what he believes they should be doing. I think if we'd had that information at my trial, the jury might have viewed his actions differently and might not have given potentially as much credence to the officer's versions of events in light of what we now know about how he acted in the shooting and murder of Renee Good.
Newmark says a judge issuing a wide range of information at this point in his client's case is rare. The court found not all but some of the investigative files should be available, including Ross's training and personnel files and all statements made by Ross an hour before and during the shooting of Renee Good. If he receives the information, it could be made public.
Well, anything that's in a court filing is available to the public. And so if there's information that ultimately the magistrate and the court release to me, and I use that either in a motion for a new trial or in a sentencing argument, that information is all publicly available. So that information would be available to the public and certainly to the prosecutors.
Newmark says if the government doesn't turn over the information, the government could ask for the case against Munoz Guatemala to be dismissed. If that happens, the judge would decide whether or not to dismiss the case of a man who's already been found guilty. I did reach out to the Department of Homeland Security and have not heard back yet.